You should be most welcome back to Jimmyism Total Nerdy channel, and you are watching From the Depth tutorials. With our ongoing tank tournament, it's high time that we show you how to make a tank. So, the first step into making a tank is of course to get away from this waterscape. And how do we do that? Well, we go to settings, content I mean, and then you click on Ashes of the Empire. And wait for it to load in. Beautiful. And here we are. Now we are at Ashes of the Empire. And now, when we go back to Create and Learn, we can now click Designer Mode. And we beautifully spawn here in Designer Mode on a platform that's supposed to be in the water, but whatever. Here we are. Beautiful. Now we can start building our tank, when we just have destroyed all vehicles. Thank you. So, to start build the tank, we of course click B to get a build button and make sure that you see which direction it's pointing, so that we can start building. And now, building a tank generally requires making a little base plate. So, we shall make a little base plate of our tank. Tanks in general are pretty compact, so do remember that even how small or big your tank it will be pretty compact, because a lot of the space will be taken up by the armor, because this is in the nature of tanks. We'll be building a pretty small tank for tutorial purposes, so it's actually pretty large if you compare to real world standards, but in From the Depth, this 16 meter tank is tiny. Anyways, so we'll first do some general outlining, and we will build a tank and we will have think about the citadel principle. And the citadel basically means that a little protected area in the middle will be more protected than the rest of the place. So since this will be a lighter tank or smaller tank, we will have a little citadel here, and in the citadel we are supposed to store our most important stuff. So it will be like this, and our most important stuff is of course our AI and stuff like that. Or actually, so why do we build this in stone? Well, we build it in stone to protect much more against EMP, because EMP will fry your AI instantly. And for my tank, for example, in the tournament, I relied on EMP missiles to take out enemies' detection systems. And if you want to know how that goes, well, check out my tournament of the tanks, of course, the 25k tank tournament, yes. Anyways, this is here, and we will begin to build a little bit more of a traditional tank. So if you're confused, this is a little bit more of a traditional tank. And I just realized that I want to move my little compartment further back, because I actually want to have a proper turret on this tank. So, alright, and that's how we do it. So, where should we fit our turret? Well, our turret should be fitting in the middle here. And since we are making a pretty compact tank, we'll make a 3x3 turret. And because the turret is quite vulnerable, we will encase it in an extra layer of armor like this. And we'll make a 3x3 turret so it can fit completely flush into this little case here. But I believe that we will actually place this down a little bit later and just outline it like this, so that we have completely free hands building our turret. Right. To make everything right, we'll need to place wheels pretty early. So we go to land, and we can find the wheels here. And we can see we have turning wheels and we have normal wheels, and we'll only use normal wheels. And I'm going to decide if I want to have the 3 meter wheels or if I'm going to have the 1 meter wheel. And I don't know. If you look at the wheels here, we can see that the max force of the bigger wheels are like 3,600, and the small wheels is just 400. But we want to go for a little bit more economical design, so we'll actually go with these ones. And how often should you keep the wheels? Well, how much of a big spender are you? The wheels, they're not super expensive, but they cost like 20, so it adds up if you add too many. But we are going to have like every second space being a wheel, just for simplicity. And now this is something we actually need to set up a little bit later, but we can set it up a little bit now. And that is wheel configuration. You can see we have a tab here that's wheel configuration. And we want to, here we have tank wheel preset. Click this and spread to neighbors. And then you'll know that, oh right, it doesn't, yes, never mind. We'll probably need to click this for all of them. But we can go to wheel configuration though. And then we have spring length. We want to set this to like 3 meters, 2 meters, kind of much. We want to have the spring force be much higher because our armor will weigh it. And forward and side friction can be good to change a little bit later. We probably want lower side friction, so we lower that to half to make it turn easier. And we can have forward friction a little bit higher to make it a little bit more quick, or get traction faster. We will play around with this a little bit more later. But when we set up this little basic thing, we can say copy to all wheels, and you can see it flew up in the air, so maybe a little bit lower, something like that. We need to reconfigure this when we have decided how heavy it will be and stuff like that. However, what you might do already is, of course, click tank wheel preset on every wheel. So just click this on all of the wheels here. You'll need to go through both sides and each wheel individually, because the spread to neighbors doesn't work, it seems, as they are not connected. But anyways, just keep doing this. Then we'll have the most important aesthetical thing. Click Q again on the wheel to get track configuration. Now click Add Track. And here you can do a lot of other things, like tank tread, rubber material. You can customize it, yeah. You can even like customize the width and stuff of this thing. So if we click on this, no, it's that's wrong. Well, since that automatic setup is much easier, and now it seems pretty much improved. But if you mess up like this, you just click track configuration, remove all tracks, and then you'll just click under automatic tracks, add track, go to this side, and track configuration, and add track. And there we basically go. We don't need to dive any deeper into this, because this is pretty nice as it is. And we can change the material if we want. So, let us proceed. Alright, and here we added just some decorations here, or not decoration, it's actually useful. You can see we added these ones, a little skirt around the tank so that maybe shells bounce down again instead of into it. And that's basically, you know, optional design. You can do however you want, but it's some basic protection for like the tracks, or because you know, this is the wheel. You can see right there. Here we have it, and we want to have some basic protection for that. We have many wheels, so it's not an entire world if one gets shot off, but we'd rather not have one shot off, of course. All right, so let us go into the AI and let us add a basic little AI here. And it depends a little bit on what type of tank you will build, what type of AI you want to have here. But let's just add a few connectors here, like this. And we'll have to have a couple of, what are they even called? Processing cards things, because it will of course take a bit of processing power to process the signals, since we need some good detection on it. We can have some basic detection here, of course, and let's add a wireless snooper to make it share its signal with the other vehicles. We have an intra-vehicles transmitter, so we can have them work better in group. And then we can go and slap on a couple of general processing cards like that. Hopefully that is enough. And then we can add a wireless transmitter. And hopefully I didn't forget anything too important, but if I did, we'll have to go back and fix it. Now, to set up this little AI, if you will make a decently agile and quick tank, you can set it up to rotate around the enemy and shoot at it. If you want to make a heavy and slow tank, you want to make it point towards the enemy all the time. This is a little bit of preference. If you make it point towards the enemy all the time, like if we just set this up as point at and maintain distance, we'll make a slower tank and it will point against the enemy, and you'll have to rely very heavily on front armor. If you make it rotate around the enemy, you have to have a little bit better side armor, but it will also evade a lot more shots. So that's kind of what you want to do. It depends on you. Depends on if you're building an agile quick tank or if you're building a slow slug tank. I want to build a little quicker tank, so I will go with point at. No, damn it, wrong. Like circle or tank broadside. Since tank broadside is nice and set up, we are going to add this thing to just tank broadside, and we can keep these settings as it is for now, and we can change them later if we want to, but it's pretty self-explanatory when you want to leave or enter broadside. It's basically around that, and you have probably, you know, checked around these numbers a little bit before when you build ships, and it's just the same as naval broadside. Right, so adjustments. Well, here we can set on land. It's probably fine like that. Beautiful. And then we go to maneuver. We can add maneuver. And here we can add ship or tank. Very nice. And that's probably all we need to add. Now we have some basic AI going on in here, and it should be nice and protect inside this little case. So maybe it's high time for us to build a little turret. So we go down to sub-objects and we add a nice one-axis turret. Now if you want to have your turret be a little bit more protected, you might want to have the 3x3, but I don't think that this will take so much firepower that it's valuable to have a 3x3, because it also costs. So I'll just have a one-axis turret and try to protect this thing a little better, because having it a one turret like this, we can make it a little bit more powerful instead, if we can fit anything in here. And remember, this is a 3x3 turret, so we can fit it flush, which is very nice for small builds. So we have a failsafe and we have a little receiver like this. Fantastic. So now we can select. Since we are making a kind of traditional tank, we can have either the advanced cannon or we can have the cram cannon. But I think that we might go with advanced cannon for this little build. So we'll make a basic little advanced cannon. So we'll just stack a couple of coolers in where we want the tank turret to be. And now we can use these 5 connectors because we're lazy. Click G to align it properly, and here we have the tank opening. And well, we can now go and add a little mantlet. So either we should have a simple 1 meter mantlet like this, or a AA mantlet. Depends on you, but I think I'll go with a more traditional one since we can protect it a little bit better. Cool, I should stop saying protect, it sounds silly. So we can add some kind of barrel here. Now the heavy barrel is slow and heavy, but if you want to protect it, the heavy barrel is worth it. But I think we actually just go with a 4-meter barrel like this, and let's see here, we can probably have a muzzle brake probably. And let's have a little muzzle brake because it looks cool. So we might need to change the like size of that thing later, but that's something for later. So now we'll need to set up a turret with some autoloaders. So here we have some different autoloaders, and the more autoloaders we have, the faster our tank can reload. So, and these autoloaders, we don't need to have magazines. The belt-fed autoloader, you have to have magazines on it, but the regular autoloader, you don't really need to. Now, this is a little bit of an experiment, but let's see if we can make this... God, 3-meter shells is too much. Let's just... 2-meter shells is actually large enough, so... Let's just go with those there. So I think we can stack 3 of them here, and we have some inputs there. So then we can go and select some inputs. And on the other side we can add them as well, but not in front. So they'll have 2 each, which is nice. I just realized that we only need, of course, 1 ammo intake per autoloader. Well, so we don't need 2 of them each, so we can have instead double the amount of autoloaders and kind of just squeeze them in here by this little interesting pattern. Smart things you come up with when you're trying to not use the mirror mode too much. Well, there we are. And here, as you can see, we can start to use the mirror mode again, because here we can indeed turn on these. Here we have gauge increasers. And gauge increasers are fantastic if we want to fire your fatter shells. And I think this is a little bit too of a fat shell. So, let's see how many millimeters this is. 100, oh yes. 300, okay, let's see if it's even possible to do this. But let's have a cooling unit here, and we'll see if the recoil is enough to flip it. If it's not, I'm a little bit sad, but well, that happens. So, to protect this little turret block, we might also add just some of this, and of course it can be a smart idea to just cover it up a little bit below here. So make sure that you're building on the right block, by the way, but here we are, right piece. Alright, so we'll see if this even works, but now we basically set this up a little bit. We can try to make it even more accurate, but remember that when you make things more accurate, it's also a less chance that they'll actually fire, so keep that in mind. Right, here we can limit if we want to. We won't do a railgun thing, but there we are, so we can click build, and we can start building somewhere else again. Fantastic. Right, so to fire a shot, we'll need to have a ammo controller. It's smart that the ammo controller is decently well protected, so it won't blow up. But go to advanced cannons and, well, here we have ammo controller. You can have several ammo controllers, by the way, if you want to. You can like set up different modules to load different shots. You can even add some advanced control blocks, I think, to kind of manage which shot it uses when, but that is too advanced for me. So far, I should say. So, anyways, what should we do here? Well, we have gunpowder casing, this is the nose, and we'll need some cool stuff. We're going to do a pretty standard, like, classical shell. We're going to do a APHE, armor piercing high explosive. So, there is a lot of stats here, you can see, and we'll need to set it up in some nice ways. So see if we just have one HE warhead and 1 armor piercing head. Come on. And let's see what diameter it is. We drag it to the actual, size. Click it on this one so it's aligned. And we can now see stats here. Barrel full length for full propellant burn, 6 meters. So we'll need to increase the length. And let's see if how long these projectiles are. And you can see this thing requires 3-meter shell racks to be able to load, and we can't really fit it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this piece and we're going to add a 2-module piece instead. So we'll try again. So middle of the shell, let's have a high explosive warhead, and a shell we'll have armor piercing nose. Alright then, now it's 2-meter rack for this. Beautiful, so that will probably work. It will be 800 meters per second, and well, you can customize this very much, but that's some basic stuff there going on right there. So now we can go to this place and we can go to connect ammo. Next intake. Select, god damn it. Okay, this changed. Alright, so we just click here, check this box, which is our shell we made, and assign all intakes to this ammo controller. Spam this and it should be connected. Here we have assign all unassigned intakes to this, which is very useful if you're having a build with several cannons with several types of ammo, but we don't have that. So now we come to the next problem. We have no ammunition storage, and we're going to squeeze in some ammo here. Of course, you want to keep stuff like protected and all that, but there is a little interesting trick we can do to kind of keep it safe. And it might be smart to actually not have this area be risk of blowing up, by the way. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but whatever. So we just encase it like this. You can see I add this little pattern where one open and one closed and like that. So we go to resources anyways, and we'll probably need to have some material storage on this anyways. So we can have materials closest to it, like that. And then we go to ammo boxes. Select any model you want, doesn't matter. Add some of these here. And now we have, you can see we have this pattern with the ammo boxes and metal blocks, and this will stop it from doing a chain reaction, last I checked, so it's super useful. Right, this weapon, this vehicle requires, you can see down in this little menu here that 3 materials extractable per ammo per minute, and 300 remaining, and the maximum needed is actually 48. So we can just replace some of these with material storage until we're kind of close to the limit we want. Yeah, but we will add in another weapon later, so we'll keep it as this value here. Now I don't know where my character is, but let us go and just spawn here. And we can... Now we can just scroll to control this bad boy and we can just try it out. So here we can see a pretty nice little shell going on right there. And well, when we hover over this we can see that we have some different values going on here. So the autoloader limit right down here, you can see autoloader limit 8.5 rounds per minute, ammo intake 8.5 rounds per minute, so we're completely matched. And cooldown limit is yeah, 10 rounds per minute, so we will not need more coolers, we're completely fine. One thing, however, that you remember when we checked out the shell configuration, it says that the barrel length for full propellant burn is 4.5 meters. Barrel length for inaccuracy is yeah, well, we don't need to mess with that, but we will need to check this barrel length. It's 4. I don't know. Well, longer barrels are more accurate, and muzzle velocity, let's see here. Yeah, well, I can swear it, but I actually don't think that the muzzle brake adds to our barrel length, so we should probably add one more barrel piece, and then we can have a muzzle brake on it. So that's pretty nice. Right. Now we should save the vehicle. So go to your main construct like this, and you just click save, and tutorial tank like this. Save the vehicle as tutorial tank. Cool. Alright, so a week has passed. Of course not for you, but well, we're now getting back to this little build here, or of course you're just continuing. But whatever. It took longer time than I thought to, you know, I got busy. But now I'm back, so anyways, we just built this little turret here, and it looks kind of fine. We just saved the vehicle, so I just loaded it in. And I can't remember, did we test this? Well, it definitely works. It's a pretty quick shell, and you can spend immense amounts of time on customizing like the shells. You'll just go in here, you know where it is, and you can set up a new shell, and you can try out a lot of different shells. But you know, basically a little quick tip is that yeah, a shell contains mostly of gunpowder, and then there's some stuff on it. But if you have like 1/3 gunpowder, it's probably too little. So that's something to think about. Then just play around with different types of shots, because we set up the armor-piercing high explosive, and the heat shell is pretty cool as well. A lot of people use HESH shells, which is high explosive squash heads that makes the armor actually fragment inside the enemy's, you know, tank or vehicle. And we're actually going to build a defense against HESH shells, because, you know, they're pretty used very often, so we need it. One thing we definitely want, though, is we want some nice detection. So we're gonna build on this thing here. And let's have a wireless receiver. So basically something that you should keep in mind is that don't skimp out on armor for the turret. Like the turret, if the turret goes down, you are probably not going to make it at all. So I usually like place a couple of like heavy armor blocks if we can protect something really important. So I suspect that these will take some fire, so I put some heavy armor shots there. Some heavy armor blocks there. But mainly this will be a like metal tank. So we're going to armor the rest with metal beams. So we can have this 3x3 here. And you see we have this little, what is it even called? Mantlet in here. And we can build kind of a little bit outwards so that the mantle is kind of, you know, not exposed, but like sunken into the build. It doesn't limit its movability, just so you know. It's, you know, from the depth is a little special game, as you probably know. Right, so I think we'll actually do something like this, and yeah, should probably use some symmetry planes there. And you actually don't have to hang around here when I build this, so I'll be back when I shape this. And a little heavy armor half block there. Beautiful. So now we should mount a little camera on this thing. So I'll remove this block I just placed, because you want to have some detection on your vehicle. We do have one of these wireless receivers here, you know, wireless snoopers I mean. And the wireless snooper is fantastic. It kind of just a text target without, you know, just scanning for some wireless signals. And it's a great backup. However, when you're using projectile weapons, which we are, you will not skimp out on like detection and tracking. You'll need some good detection and tracking. And a smart thing can be to put a like camera on a turret, because you can see this one. The turret will face the enemy, which means that this camera will always basically have visual on the enemy. Fantastic. You can even do some rudimentary defenses for your camera. Look, we can have this little cute tube there. And, well, that's basically the protection, because it will mainly face the enemy. And we can then put some metal armor protection here. But this is so thin, it's mostly for show, just so you know. But, yeah. It does look cooler like that, maybe. It actually doesn't look cooler at all. It looks it looks pretty silly. But we'll keep it there for now. Right, now we're gonna build on this main vehicle here. And as I think I remember I told you, we want to encase this turret well with armor. And you might be doing bigger turrets, and if you're making bigger turrets, you just go to, let's see if I can find where they moved. Here, sub-objects. You see these? So, the metal is the size of like the turret well, and the alloy is the size of the turret inside. And if you do these shapes here, they will perfectly be able to spin around. So it's a little, like, yeah, easy solution. Anyways, as I told you, we are going to do some armor of this thing. And we'll go with regular armor. And what I will be doing first is actually to encase this thing in metal. And then we're going to add some of the special defenses or anti-hesh and stuff like within this. Yeah, we also need an engine somewhere. Yeah, we can probably have the engine in front of the turret. Let's just make an engine a little bit quickly here. So here we have a fuel engine, and I think we are going for a injector engine, because they're very simple. So a cylinder there, like this. And you can do this more efficiently if you have 4 cylinders. But I think this will be absolutely fine. Beautiful. Alright, and then we need some exhausts, and it's really smart to use these ones. Very nice little, they have the same like armor like a metal block, but they're actually like hole pipe. So basically they want to be connected to, I think it is like 2 cylinders each to keep them cool enough, just so you know. So we'll just do some nice Tetris here. Might as well connect this up like this. What are we doing now? Oh god, I misplaced everything. Okay, like this then. And just oh, let me have a corner pipe here. Let me exchange this one for a junction pipe, and well, this should work. So here we have it. Inside here we can set up some nice things. So we have cylinders, blah 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 blah, very nice. Total power output, you can see the max here. And well, very nice. And here we have a battery charge fraction. But we don't have any batteries on, so we can like turn that off, since we don't need to generate any. I don't think it actually costs much since we don't have batteries, but whatever. Better turn it off. So there we have it, an engine is set up. Now I will try and do the shaping, and since this is a kind of a little bit smaller tank, we will go for a single layer of armor. So a single metal layer will be the like outmost layer of this tank. So it will not be like super heavy tank, but it will definitely be able to take some hits. Alright, so I'll be back very soon. Alright, so here's how it works. You kind of see that I have encased this little thing a little bit in armor. God, I should probably make this top one a little bit smoother. Well, anyways, let me care about that a little bit later. Because what we need to do here now, to prevent those dangerous fragments to spawn and hit us from inside the like vehicle, we can have like, we can basically put like wooden blocks on the inside like this. And it's important you put a flat side towards the metal, and then you have a like slotted side outwards. And in this case, it you know, becomes some kind of like air gap thing. And it doesn't matter like with orientation. I could place them like this as well. It just has to be, you know, I just place them like this because it looks cooler. But we just want them to look. We just want them to be flat towards the metal, because when they are in this like way, when some types of shells like heat or hash kind of hits this, and it spawns fragments that get into and destroy the squishy stuff inside here, like the engine, the spawn fragments come from the wood instead of the metal, which means that basically we are lining the inside of the tank with like fodder. That's less dangerous if it gets you know, splinters all over the place on the inside. So that's basically how to protect against that. And as you can see, we of course, it's kind of important that we have this kind of like defense. So we'll of course need to line the entire insides of the tank like this. Or we could actually put it like that to make it look nicer, but it doesn't really matter for performance-wise. So there we go. So let me continue doing this. Alright, now we have a nice little encasement here, and I've moved around some stuff, and you can kind of see that we have layered the inside with wood like this, basically all around except the back and like the top. So we'll expect to get most of the fire from the side, but we'll get it from the front or the side mostly, we think. We of course should armor everything, but that's kind of where we expect to get fired from. Whoops. Now I accidentally build on a sub-object, I think. Okay, like this. So if we just go in here, you can kind of see how it looks like. We can place some blocks here and there inside here. We can use this extra storage space to keep stuff if we need to. As you ever notice is that we'll get in trouble if we get hit from behind. And one way we can do, if we'll get hit like by a powerful heat shell or whatever from behind, we could do like this. We could add some ERA armor here, and this is explosive reactive armor, so when a shot pops in here, it like especially heat shots, the armor will get activated and will destroy like the incoming shot like once, and then the armor piece is spent. So this is actually not the best way to do it. It's a little less efficient in terms of material. No. Right. So, what do we do otherwise then? Well, what we can do is we go instead and take this, applique panels. The applique panels can kind of bounce off shots. They have very high armor rating, but they're very weak. So they basically, you know, can help you bounce off a couple of shots and then they're kind of spent. But as you can see here, we'll get a little trouble with our turret. If we do that, it won't be able to spin around full circle. So I guess we'll just have to hope that we won't get hit exactly there. On the sides of the vehicle, however, like on this flat piece, like here, let's see how big this is, 4 meter. It's probably a very smart idea to add one line of applique panels here, since the shot basically has no chance to bounce off. You know, since it's a lot of, yeah. And I forgot to automatically copy it to the other side. Well, that's too bad. So that's basically like the armor for this one. And you can see like it's not the thickest armor, but I try to make it as thick as possible and still have that hedge protection. And of course armor stacks, so it's better if you can fit 2 layers of metal. It's much stronger than just 1 layer of metal. So in this case it depends a little bit on where we get hit, but you know, we probably, you know, hopefully this is a rather fast tank, so hopefully we can just, you know, slide around. And of course it applies to the other side as well. If we are really worried about getting hit, we can just add a couple of applique panels like this, and it should keep off some, a couple of like, a few explosions that happen to take place under the tank like that. Pretty nice. So I just realized that we want a secondary weapon. So what makes sense? Well, what makes a lot of sense to have on a tank like this is of course a machine gun. And machine guns, well, what about a trusty 60mm cannon should probably work. Maybe we can put it maybe around there. Probably good. And this is, as you know, on a turret, so hopefully it, you know, it should work. It should work. Cool. So let's see here. I don't remember what our weapons controller is set up to, but we'll hover over it here so we can see. You can see the range. We probably won't be able to shoot over, like 2000 is probably too much anyway, so we'll keep it like there. And yeah, you can restrict it here so it won't like shoot at targets in vain. So we can kind of check what the range is and kind of adjust the maximum range to it. Right, maximum fire rate should be maximum, of course. Good. That's basically that. Now is of course another question. We basically have no trackers. No. We'll need to set up some trackers and some additional detection on this thing, as well as armor our AI compartment. Because our ammunitions compartment, the turret well, and the AI area is pretty well protected. But one thing more we should add to the armor, and that is because when you kind of build like this little stone wall here, it's to keep out EMP damage. But we also want to have some surge protectors. If they would try and use EMP on you again, you want to be able to suck up some of that EMP. So we can just add like a few around it, so it's kind of a little bit, you know, connected. So we can kind of make sure that the EMP damage gets sucked up by these blocks instead. So it doesn't have time to get into important parts. So as you can see, we kind of put some on the side here, a little bit around. That should work. Oh, and a great tip, of course, to make your shape correct, use these. You'll have to use this transition block, and they're kind of hell to get used to, but it's worth it. You can see I beefed up the protection of this little camera here. because I just realized that on turrets there is this coincidence rangefinder thing. It's pretty useful. We can kind of point these little things towards the enemy, and you know, we can put one here and it will be able to get a bearing. So like basically it says here what they're good and bad at, but like cameras and camera gimbal trackers, they're super good to kind of get the turret to actually like aim properly against towards the enemy, like properly towards the enemy. We want that. And cameras, of course, to detect where they are. And then there are like rangefinders, and like these laser detector have excellent range. They're super good as well. And like these radars are very nice at like long ranges, but usually for like bigger targets though. So I think it's not essential on this one. We'll rely on a camera, coincidence rangefinder, wireless thing, and it would be a good idea to have like a 360 camera on this thing as a kind of backup. I'm not sure if can we connect them up directly to... Are they connected? Oh yes, they are, look. Okay, so this one would be connected on top of this, which is nice. Then we know we can actually use a telescope. This telescope, gimbal tracker, and the camera, they are yeah, they're still the same. And we just aim it the right direction, and you can kind of see here, and it gets elevated a little bit. And here's like a funny thing, we can use this laser rangefinder to kind of extend the connection points for our telescope, so we are very sure that it's actually over. And while I agree that this doesn't like look the coolest, it completely works. The like laser rangefinder will very rarely actually be able to track anything, but well, it's very cheap and it takes very little processing power, so we might as well have one as kind of backup thing or something. So now we have all that stuff on this turret here, and as I said, it would be a good idea to have an extra like detection system, like a radar or a 360 camera. However, we do have this inter-vehicle transmitter, so as long as we are a couple of vehicles at the same time, they should be able to have no problem to, you know, always detect the target. But again, do not skimp out on detection when you're building like tanks that should be able to shoot. So I have a camera, and I have this one, and I have this one. So the rangefinder and maybe this laser rangefinder as well sometimes, they give me range. The visual camera and the like the gimbal camera on the telescope and the camera inside here, they give me good bearing, like basically where to aim, and together these this system should be able to make us pretty accurate. And we have a little wireless snooper for backup. And well, of course we can tweak it a little bit more. I would probably want to, could be a nice idea to like inside of like here, maybe remove some parts and have a radar. But as you may have seen onto these things, they say that mainframe does not have enough processing power, so detection is reduced to 98.7%. And it's best if they are 100, and of course we'll have to work a little bit if we want to fit that, because we already filled this place with general processing cards, so well. Or we are just going to I think it will work completely fine. So we are just going to fill up with some stones there, and then we're going to fill up this well with a little piece of metals. Nice. And I just want to add some last details to this turret, because I want it to look a little bit cooler. Maybe something around those lines. Well, I think it's high time that we save this vehicle. The tutorial tank is saved. And now we should probably test if it even works. Oh, click V as well. And here we see camouflage textures, and we of course will scroll down to metal texture and write in hashtag oh, they're case sensitive, by the way. Camo desert. Oh, I had two M's, that's why. You can probably select 9, looks pretty nice. And then we can zoom out here and select the size. Somewhere around those lines, I think it's probably very nice. You can set up the other ones as well, of course. So, now we have a nice desert camo tank. So, let's save this vehicle. Not changed, let's bump the version to make sure it's actually saved. Beautiful. Now, I have no idea if this actually will work. But we saved the vehicle, so hopefully it does work. And we can just dive into here and see if everything is okay. Switch to some components like that. Seems that we should be able to have a lot of speed going on there. And oh, I think we forgot to add a like fuel box. So let's steal one of these material boxes and replace it with a fuel box like this. So we estimate that you require almost 200. Okay, so we'll have to exchange one of the other material boxes with a fuel box as well. I think it's enough material, and if it's not, we can just we have free spaces here in the sides, you know, inside of here, you know. So, there we have it. Should probably be a working tank. Let us test this thing with driving it ourselves. So we're just gonna add a control, vehicle controller, like this, and a little share like that, and well, right. And now we need to set up the wheels, probably, because they are not going to be well, we can turn around, all right. Maybe it actually just works. So like we can kind of, it almost kind of flips over a little bit here, as you can see, but it's mainly in like the starting phase. But we can make the suspension less or more stiff to kind of counter for this. We're now moving at 39 per second. Yeah, well, basically, one thing I want to look a little bit at here is that we're gonna turn it off like that, and we're gonna, whoops, we are going to go into here, into this wheel here, and wheel configuration. So here we have this it's like spring length. If you want your tank to be closer to the ground, you'll need to decrease the like length of it and copy to all wheels, and now it will be lower, and if it's too low, you'll kind of bump the underside of it, and that's not good. And if you want a solid extension like this, we can do like that, and you kind of, it's not like bouncy anymore, but we don't want any solid extensions. Now we actually flipped ourselves, which is very sad. If your tank flips, you'll need to fix it, because it won't unflip itself really on the battlefield, you know. So here we have like the like spring force, and if we put it up there and get it down like this, you can see the spring force, they're kind of a good force. But there are some other things that we'll need to check, because there is also these things like the damper. If the damper bump force is like maxed out like this, you can see what happens when we put it up and like drop it down. It gets a little bit more bouncy. And did I copy to all wheels? I think I did. let's see here, boing, and we go here. So the damper dump force kind of, if you max that out, it gets a little jumpy like that. And the rebound force is, it makes it like less bouncy. But you can also just take them and drag them both down like that. Copy to all, and they're kind of yeah, I think that was kind of the optimal setting. Damper bump force should be, we can max them both out, or keep this pretty, I think we can keep this one pretty low. I'm sorry, I always forget how to like set them up properly, but I basically do this every time. I drop the vehicle and put it down again and see when it doesn't bounce, because sometimes you need a little bit of bounce and sometimes it just flips you over, so it's interesting. Alright, and you, of course, you want the springs to be like strong enough so that you will, you know, be able to, yeah, not flip over as much. But anyways, there is a little interesting like here. Here you can see the like the side friction. If your tanks have problem turning, you can draw this side friction down, and if your steering vehicles have problem turning, you can draw the side friction up. So if the forward friction is too high, your vehicle will flip over. So if it flips over, you can also drag this down a little bit. But that's some customization that is very much only applies to your vehicle. So test up some stuff there. So we should save this thing here. We can probably, actually, can remove those there and save it. Because now I think it's time to turn on the music. I always forget there is like music in this like game. Music volume. Okay. Nice. Now we turned on music. And we're going to spawn some random enemies. I want to see a land marauder. Is it actually the... Oh, it is the marauder. That's pretty cool though. Oh god, is my poor tank enough though? Bam! So your tank will depend, like move around differently dependent on the like AI you have. And we can kind of see here what's it doing. And well, now it fires some machine guns and it tries to get into range. We only have a 1-axis turret in there, so it's a little bit slow. We could have it do like a bigger turret and it will be bigger and faster because it's like yeah, wider. Yeah, well, our tank is not made to face big squish targets out of wood. It's more made out to try to hit other armor. So well, this will probably take some time. I think it's likely that the land marauder grinds us down, because as you can see here, oh no. And if you don't set up like range like this, they will kind of get into the enemy, of course, and that's not very good if you don't have like melee on you. One way to fix this is of course to go into like simple weapons and to add some melee things on the sides like this, so if you drive into stuff it doesn't matter. That you can do. Oh, and if your tank kind of hits stuff, bumps into the ground all the time, you can save yourself with adding some rubber underneath, and it will remove that bumper damage basically. Like some bumpers like this. You can have them on the back as well, of course. Yeah, I'll just add one here for like show. I don't know. Very nice. Alright. So I think that you've learned how to make a tank now. I haven't tweaked this tank. We should probably change the ammunition type towards like this enemy, but well, it's okay. We can probably try and spawn something from the steel striders instead. And there was something I thought about a little bit. It stands still. How strange. You know, it's a little bit interesting to see, like, the armor seems to be holding up pretty well, even though it's, you know, it's not very heavy weapons. It seems that the enemy craft has, like, serious issues. We're just gonna remove it. Because there is a little thing I wanna try, you see. And that is, we have some special stuff here. We have, like, this EMP thing. So if I hit the EMP, I wanna see where the like EMP charges go. If I get hit by EMP like that. Yeah, so hopefully the EMP goes to our surge protectors inside of here. And it seems to be the case. Well, seems that it's working indeed. Very nice. And if we're a little bit crazy, we can of course test the like explosion resistance. Like if we get an explosion on the side there, how much wrecked will we be? Well, we can take one there. We can take one on the ammo compartment as well. So that's nice. Pretty quick as well. Oh, so the Goliath is in the middle here. Now we can kind of see if our shots do any like damage. You can see we have a proper like tank shot. It got through the armor there, but we didn't get any lasting damages. Oh, and there we got a real hit there, and that's very nice that we have our compartmentalized little interiors as well as the ammo boxes that are moved up in a little checker mark there. Oh, alright, it's the turret, it's not the detection. So, as you can see here, like this deep penetrating cannon can shoot off like the block that is the weapon controller from inside of here. So, really good guns can penetrate real deep, and of course this is a small tank, and if you want to make this like proof, you probably have to like, yeah, have some advanced armor in there. This thing is probably, you know, it's like in all ways much better. I don't remember which is the Goliath or Fenrir. I think it was one of these, but this Fenrir 37,000. I think it was that one probably then. How much does it cost? Our little tank. Tutorial tank cost 8,000. So the tutorial tank is cheap. It's dirt cheap. And so, yeah, in terms of materials, we could probably eat this up, I think, eventually. But, this tutorial did not promise to make a tank better than the Steel Striders, but merely show you how to make a tank. And that, God. This is a work in progress vehicle, by the way. Isn't it really cute? I think it is. It's also real fast. It has like jets and stuff, and oh god, it crashes into everything. I haven't set it up. It barely has detection. But, well. Hope this little tutorial did explain everything you wanted to know about how to make a little tank, and I hope I went through all the important steps. There is of course decoration. And I usually go through this, but we'll just click Ctrl X and we can like add a decoration. And we want to add a armored laser optic. There, yes, thank you. And now we have our armored laser optic that's decorated there. Beautiful. And we can drag them down with the sliders to have it exactly where we want to have it. Damn, this turret is dangerous. Anyways. Hope you did enjoy this little video, and seems that the Steel Empire probably wins this time, but yeah, maybe if I spawned as many as this one costs, maybe we would win. But anyways, hope you enjoyed. See you next time. This is Jim with some Total Nerdy Channel signing out.